Thank you very much. Sorry I was outside the room at the time. I was trying to make my mobile phone work and it doesn't, so I'm happy. Thank you all for being here, and thanks for having this rally tonight. This is in the tradition and spirit of what Latin America has been through over many, many decades. And I thought the point made a little bit earlier by Amelia about that Latin America is a changed place is a very important one. So when the Americans try to put sanctions on Venezuela, try to undermine Venezuela, try to discredit Venezuela, as they've been doing for the last decade and more, the show has moved on. Things are very, very different in Latin America. The American political elite don't seem to have understood that or caught up with that. And so they should have learned that when there was the Latin American conference in Buenos Aires, when the great footballer Diego Maradona pointed out that the US was actually meaning ill towards Latin America, and what Latin America needed was solidarity across the continent and not a dependence on the USA. We've moved on from the days of the Monroe Doctrine, we've moved on from the days of US control. However, have we? Because you look at what's happened in Venezuela, look at the undermining of the government of Ecuador, is it that different to the way in which the government of Salvador Allende in Chile were treated in the 1970s? When that government was elected on a radical program of public ownership, was elected on a program to improve the lot of ordinary Chileans, and it set about trying to do that. It did its very, very best in the 3 short years that it was actually in office, and achieved a great deal. And there are still people in Chile that speak of the success of that government because they realise it was their government, it was achievable for them. When Allende was killed, he was killed, as far as I'm concerned, by British planes operated by the CIA on behalf of the United States to destroy that government. It wasn't just the killing of one man, it was an attempt to kill a whole generation of young people and older people that had given their all to that. And what followed was, of course, Operation Condor against the left in Chile, yes, but also in Peru, in Bolivia, and in Argentina. And don't forget that more people disappeared in Argentina than in any other country in the region during that period of the journalists being in charge. And so we have to have an understanding of that history in our acts of solidarity with Venezuela. Hugo Chavez certainly understood the history, the path, the historic path that he was walking down, because he understood what had gone on in the past, the way in which independent, so-called independent Latin American governments were effectively the plaything of US corporations, and that many had paid a very heavy price, Guatemala onwards, of people that had tried to achieve an independent path for themselves. And so when we celebrate, and it is a cause for celebration, the achievements of Venezuela in jobs, in housing, in health, in education, but above all, its role in the whole world as a completely different place. So we do that because we recognise what they have achieved and how they're trying to achieve it. But we also have to recognise that there are some very powerful forces that are trying to destroy all of that. Not far north in Mexico, they've been through the process of the so-called North America Free Trade Area. This North America Free Trade Area links Canada, USA and Mexico. Who are the beneficiaries of this free trade area? The very biggest businesses who can play ducks and drakes with national governments and national economies, move production, move pricing, move taxation from one place to the other. Who are the losers in this? Those workers that are deported from the USA back to Mexico when their period of exploitation is no longer required by American businesses. Who are the losers? The poor people in Mexico who no longer get the remittances from those that have sought to go to the United States to work. It's either side of the border the exploitation takes place. So it's not in the interests of American workers to join in the exploitation of Mexican workers any more than it is the other way around. So I give you this as a last message. We are now in the midst of a debate, beginning, about the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. This has been crying out before, this kind of investment process, where the big businesses of the world, under the auspices of the WTO, are given powers over national governments. Government of Argentina, government of Tanzania, government of Australia, government of Venezuela. Many, many governments have been threatened with legal action in American courts by American corporations because they're trying to protect their investments against a government, any government, that wishes to control what they do, ensure proper working conditions and proper wages. Make no mistake about it. The Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership is about taking the lowest common denominator anywhere in the USA or Europe and imposing that on the rest of us. Our job in Solidarity is to understand what's going on, but also to try and do things over here. There's a very important conference coming up this weekend, the Stop the War Coalition International Conference. I hope you'll all be there. There are going to be sections on all conflicts all around the world, and above all, sections on the way in which the world's war machines exploit the poorest people on the planet. Don't think just because there hasn't been any direct military intervention yet in Latin America in the last few years by the USA. They've been threatening Cuba for the past half century and more. They will continue doing the same elsewhere. So if you can be there, please be there. But also, on June the 20th, is the National Anti-Austerity March. The best message we can give to those people who are suffering under the conventional economic wisdom that's destroying jobs and lives in Greece, as much as it's destroying them anywhere else where structural adjustment programs take place, is to oppose the whole austerity idea here in this country and in Europe. Thank you very much.